It is University of Texas Athletic Director Chris Del Conte. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you, fellas?
We're doing well, and I think the first thing we need to get to is our co-host, Mike. His daughter just started at the University of Texas. Can you give us a breakdown on their fine arts department and what we should look forward to there?
I see that. Wise choice, Mikey. Wise choice.
We are very
changes the world. Good job.
We are very happy with her, and she's loving UT a week into school.
Fantastic. Go out. The first week here is always like schools are optional. It seems like, you know, every bar in town is filled. So she probably has a fake ID. If I was you, I'd be checking her wallet.
Why are you telling him that already?
Right,
He's going to panic.
Chris, I have checked her Venmo, and she Venmo'd somebody for pizza and coffee at midnight. And I'm like, I can believe the pizza thing. I don't know if you were having coffee with your pizza at midnight.
If you get Uber Eats at Uber at 3:30 and it's for Uber Eats, you for sure know that it was not. She took a ride. You know,
this is not how I expected that first part to go. Fantastic!
I love it. I think it's great.
Well, I appreciate it, Mikey. I have two daughters here, so I'm letting you know. When they told me, Dad, I had pizza and coffee, I'm like, hold on a minute. Is it Boone's Farm?
Yeah. Yeah. That would be a great name for a bar, pizza and coffee.
Yep.
And so people will just think, yeah, that's what I paid for. And you're like, no, this is a bar.
Yeah, exactly right. When I was in school, we had a bar called the Library. And my old man finally caught on when he showed up. He goes, "What is that?" That's the library, Dad.
Look at all
really?
the books.
Right.
One of the things that I love that you said in the last week is you walked through the embrace the hate mantra. As somebody who also ascribes to that same philosophy, can you explain that for people who maybe aren't familiar with the movings and shakings of conference realignment and y'all's future next year and everything like that?
Well, and I think the issue is just that when you are we know it's the last year of us in the Big 12, and that's always going to be just contentious, and we have to understand that we're going to get already at the University of Texas. It's the biggest game, and we're going to be going into hostile environments, and we just got to understand. Hey, get ready for that environment. You're going to get everyone's best shot on the way out. Be prepared for that moment. Even though I know when Texas comes into someone's house, it's their biggest game. And we know that. It's just added on top of that is that this is our last year in the conference. So we're mainly just embracing that. Embrace the opportunity that you have. Enjoy this opportunity. Know that you're going to get a level of intensity that is higher than usual on our farewell tour.
You guys have a number of high-profile quarterbacks on campus, and I just how much different is the vibe whenever you have a Quinn Ewers, when you have an Arch Manning stepping through campus, or is it just like, no, this is just a typical day at Texas?
I think like anything else, they're great human beings, both of them, but Malik as well. Malik was highly recruited. I think it just speaks volumes of the program and the expectations that we have of all of our programs. I was having lunch yesterday. We've won back-to-back Directors' Cups, and this past year finished second in the director for the overall best athletic programs in the country. So we won 12, 13 conference championships and a dozen in the last 3 years, almost more than that, 15 national championships. When you're in that cafeteria, you just see Olympians. You see All-Americans, you see national champions. It's an amazing place to reside. You ought to come down at noon. You'll just sit there and go, my gosh, look at the talent that this place attracts. And no different, Mikey, than your daughter coming to the University of Texas. Congratulations to her. She's the top 6% of her high school. Yep. So they're going to attract the very best. In that cafeteria, you just look around the room, you just have nothing but winners. And the quarterback room or the linebacker room or the swimming and diving or the tennis, they're just extensions of that expectation that we have for ourselves at this institution.
So I recently got done reading the Coach K book, and he talked about he really wanted his basketball team, his student athletes, to also be part of the student process. He didn't want them to maybe be secluded from the other college students. And he was talking about eating in kind of the places that, this is open to all of the students. We're not just going to have just a basketball place for us to eat and just this or just that. What's kind of the thought about UT with that? I'm not saying Coach K was right. It was interesting to me that he really wanted his Duke kids to be part of Duke. And so how is that when we're talking about very popular players on your team?
Well, and I think that they all live in the dorms on campus. That's one thing. Every student athlete comes in, they live on the dorm. We don't have like an athletic dorm, or we don't do like a basketball only dorm. And I think a school like Duke that's only 8,000 students, it's really small. TCU I think is like 7,000 undergraduate students. It's pretty small. So everyone knows everybody. At Texas, we're 52,000 students. So we do have all of our kids live on campus their first year. They live in West Campus their second year, and the one thing that we really do well, and it's a credit to our president, is even coming out of COVID, we're only like about 5% online. We are in classroom. We have the finest professors in the country, and we want our student athletes to be taught by the finest professors, and it's in classroom, so 20 kids per class. So we're heavily focused on them getting an unbelievable educational experience and a living experience on campus, which then will tell you that what starts here changes the world is our mantra that we fully believe in, and it's because we're immersed as one.
Talk with Chris Del Conte right here on 105.3 The Fan. I was hoping you could tell us about the new tailgating service that y'all are rolling out there, Revel XP. You can check it out at revelxp.com. We hear about tailgating all the time. What do you think is the appeal of this service?
Well, one of the things you look at for us more than anything else is that we are really an urban campus. If you've been down to Austin, it's just different. We don't have massive parking lots surrounding our stadium. So we have Bevo Boulevard, we have Smokies Midway, we have all the areas that congregate in terms of providing an incredible all-day experience for our fans, yet we have a lot of parking garages. So what we looked at was, let's find an incredible space that we can then, right in the middle of an urban campus, that if you just want to stop in, park your car and walk, and they do all the barbecue for you. They do all the pregame, tailgate setup. You just tell them what you want. It's like kind of like going to a grocery store and then you just order over the phone. They show up to your house.
I like it.
It's hard to same. They come here, soup to nuts. It's done, baby. You just got to show up and get after it.
That's a fantastic experience for something like that. I've always been kind of curious the way NIL has evolved in your eyes and how it's going now versus how it started and what you kind of foresee in the future of it. How quickly did it take, or how long did it take you guys to kind of organize things and say, okay, this is the structure we would like to work within?
Well, and I think for me specifically, I think what gets lost in all of this is that the educational component. We're talking about a $1 trillion student debt, and they're saying we got to forgive that student debt. I'm like, wait a minute. I chose to take that loan out to get that education. Why should it be forgiven? What's getting lost is in intercollegiate athletics, majority of almost all of our student athletes graduate college with no debt. It's the largest free education program in the country outside of the GI Bill. Largest. We provide opportunities for every student athlete across walks of life to get a free education while performing athletics. And only 2% of those student athletes will go pro, and we seem to focus on that. So it boggles my mind that we forget that, especially in a time and place when we're talking about forgiveness of a debt that I voluntarily chose. I had $53,000 in student loan. It took me 17 years to pay it off, and I enjoyed paying it off every single month because it knew it changed my life. And I was going to work my tail off to pay that loan off. So I think what gets lost is that. Now, NIL is if there's an opportunity I think everyone has the right to say, this is my name, image, and likeness. And we should look at what opportunities I have with my name, image, and likeness. And being in the city of Austin, it's just absolutely growing by leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
The tech companies that are leaving California and coming here, and the growth of our city, and the opportunity for young people in our Forever Texas program to change their life through NIL and through their degree from the University of Texas is second to none. And that's why I'm embracing these opportunities for everybody.
Is it, and I totally hear what you're saying about the student loan forgiveness. Is it tough though? Because like sometimes I have to admit I roll my eyes when I hear the term student athlete, because I feel like the NCAA uses that as a cover for the billions of dollars that they're also making off of these people.
Well, I don't think they're making anything if you look at that regard. We spend, if you look at I have 20 sports. I only have 2 that are profitable. Football and men's basketball. 18 are completely dependent on those 2 sports to operate. My wait staff, my training staff, my nutritionist, my medical staff, academic staff, tutors, and then you go every single sport is dependent on those 2 sports to have an athletic program. And of those 2 sports, only 2% of them are going to go pro. Yet I have Scotty Scheffler that played on our golf team, right? We have Olympians that were here. We have you see the student athletes come through Texas that are going to go out and do great things in their particular endeavor. But while they're in school, the finances are set up, so it's not like, oh my God, there's this massive profit center. No, that money pours back into the operation of all 20 sports so that we can provide a well-rounded academic opportunity for everybody. At the same time, there's institutional needs that we also work closely with our campus. So it's a little misnomer that's being said, and I get that, but it's not like I'm an NFL team or a men's basketball or an NBA team. We're a college athletic program made up of 21 sports.
So, Chris, I'm
different.
Oh, sorry about that, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Okay, I'm a baseball guy, and so is my father, and my son's a freshman in high school. He's going to play college baseball, and it's interesting as we kind of talk about, the going to college. And I signed out of high school, and I really want him to play college baseball if possible. And I look at the way the transfer portal is now. LSU, who you're about to join in the SEC, they won the national championship, and their head baseball coach didn't really want to celebrate the championship too much. He wanted to immediately in his press conference say, hey, enter the transfer portal, come here to a national championship team. So he wants your UT kid to say, I want to go to LSU. He wants the A&M kid to say, well, LSU's better. I'm a starter at A&M, but I want to go to LSU for that year. Do you see that changing? Because I look at my son and say, it might be better your freshman year to go to Texas State or to go to Abilene Christian and then transfer into UT when you're a sophomore or junior, or then transfer into A&M when you're a sophomore or junior. Do you see that 5 years from now as still being the same thing? Just take the best D1 players at maybe not the national championship team and all those best players then just transfer to the 5 best schools?
Well, and I think it all depends on who the parent is and what the kid wants out of school. I mean, if you're going to really go to get an education and change your life, then you're going to go to the very best school you can get into, play sport, and get the very best degree you can. That's the most important thing. And if you think, oh, no, I want to go somewhere for 1 year, well, what's your fallback plan 10 years from now? What's your fallback 3 years from now? So I look at it and say it's an ever-changing landscape, and I get it. And you're going to have kids that go to smaller schools are always going to look to transfer up, and that happens now. And that's the oddity of the way the transfer portal is working today. Ironically, we didn't lose anybody through we had lost some kids that said, I'm just not playing the left. But we're a destination for transfer portal kids. But when I was in school, JC was big. Mm. You went to JC to help shore up your roster if you lost people through graduation just because they're older. I think the unintended consequence of the portal is that there's 2 cracks at it, which makes it really difficult for coaches to have a roster. You know what I mean? That's just a tough part of it. But, it is a new landscape. And at a place like Texas, we know that more often than not, we're going to be the beneficiary of that. But I do worry that I understand the sitting out for a year. That's what it was when I was in school. And if it was interconference, it was 2 years. So I just look at that and say, right now, it's just I'm going to go somewhere for 6 months and bounce or somewhere for 6 months. That's hard to do your roster that way. And I feel bad for the coach. I feel bad for the institution. And someone's in the kids' ear thinking that's a good opportunity for them, and they lose sight of the fact that last year there was almost 15,000 people in the portal. And only like 2,200 got picked up. that means 13,000 people lost their scholarship. Because once you enter the portal, the coaches, your scholarships were relinquished from that school. So I want you to think through what message we're being sent. Then the portal is also affecting high school because coaches are no longer recruiting high school kids to try to develop them. They're going to try to get an older kid in the portal. So it's just an interesting time in our industry.
Yeah, it's something we talk about constantly on this show, specifically trying to figure out exactly what the landscape's going to look like in the future. I have a fantasy draft this weekend. How high should I take Bijan Robinson?
Hey, buddy, there's no gaming in Bushwood.
Smart. Well, we appreciate the time very much. revelxp.com, and I really hope that you invite the Big 12 commissioner to tailgate with you before the Texas Tech game, if you can make that happen.
I appreciate that and look forward to the Rice football game this weekend.
Awesome. Thank you very much, good sir. Appreciate the time.
Thanks.
Appreciate you, fellas.